Hi, I'm Jasper. I'm an artist and I'm studying at Monash Uni.
And I'm Tia Ansell, and I am also studying, but I'm doing my honours year at VCA, Victorian College of the Arts.
I guess today we're talking about our show Leaves the Key Under the Mat, including myself and Tia and our friend named Denny. I guess something that's pretty common to all our practices is like an interest in sort of the physical environment and like the way that can operate psychologically and sort of influence your thoughts. And Liam and I are pretty good friends, and like we've done a lot of work together and like sort of discovered different methodologies and materials alongside each other. And Tia I met through our friend Casey. And we get talking one time or something, like when I saw you about, we were talking about like psychogeography and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, we did.
I can't remember what exactly the context was, but there was one time we had a conversation, and then Liam sent me a picture of your work, and he was like, "This is really good. Like we should totally," because we were planning on writing a proposal for Bus already, and he was like, "Oh, we should totally ask Tia," and then just sort of that's sort of where we went. But I guess overall the theme, or like the point of interest for us, I think, is like sort of an ambulatory practice of discovering hidden things within the city and how that can operate as an influence on top of you in place of the other way around, or like in conjunction with that kind of dynamic. So
we're sort of like haptic scavengers.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting because we have quite parallel practices, but we sort of approach things in quite different ways. I think that's why this show has been pretty great. In terms of like personally working with like two great artists. It is the medium and it's the message too.
What's really interesting about the way that the three of them work together is that they're not only like sort of these monochromes and kind of whether or not this is deliberate, but the colours seem to match up really well. But anyway, it's like it's really interesting that they're not just these like sort of monochrome things. I think what makes it really successful, in my opinion, is that they're also all sort of textured, and there's grey, black, and then green, and like it's all, I don't know, there's something interesting within that.
So I'm from New Zealand, and I moved over here about 4 years ago, and I'm currently studying at the VCA, which I think is very important in my practice. Studying and being in that environment. And most of my work is about the relationship of creating a new home and being away from that, and seeing the parallels that exist between the two, and especially within the urbanscape. And through sort of my relationship with the transitory line and being in motion and constantly looking down, which is something we all have in common, that we're always looking down when we wander, is very important to me in the way that I sort of approach making and through the process of psychogeography and responding to a space and location. Something that I'm really interested in with my practice, and is sort of a theme, or like the basis of where everything comes from, is the grid, and it's a symbol of modernity. It's a structure that is so fixed in its sort of horizontal and vertical nature, with sort of overlapping. It's overlapping lines, which is sort of reflected in. I also have a weaving practice as well, which is what weaving is bound to, the warp and weft structure. So I suppose my overarching practice is like a grid methodology. Yeah.
Well, I sort of started off being interested in painting, and I liked to take angles and like colours from buildings and sort of make it into an abstract sort of composition. And then I sort of moved on from that and started taking photos of textures and things that I liked that I saw outside. So I guess I've always been interested in the way that like the external environment can sort of exist as a site for recontextualization, and the way that you can do that with an artwork. And I used to, well, and I still do, I really like going on just walks around, just like pointless sort of walks with friends or on my own. And I think that was like, and I used to do that a lot even as a teenager before I even started thinking about art as like a, you know, a sort of serious thing. And I guess one of the first things I noticed was one of those Telstra, you know, the Telstra manholes with the like the windy patterns. I noticed that was the first one I noticed, and I was like, oh, it'd be really nice to remake one of those and have it as a sort of painting thing on a wall. So I guess that sort of, if there was any one thing that I could kind of boil it down to, I think that would be the most important artistic experience that led to the development of these sort of works. So I guess in terms of this show, conceptually, I think as we both said, like it's obviously walking is a very important sort of interest that we all share, but I think something that we're all, and you know, all the sort of like conceptual package with that, but I think there's like, I think we're all quite interested in a form of archiving as well. I think I'm correct if I'm wrong, but like it sort of becomes this practice of like, at least I know this is really important for my work as well, that this idea of reproducing or abstracting something to recontextualize it into this kind of, or to imagine it as a sort of like central object in some sort of like cultural or historical sense. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's sort of a common thread between all of our work, and the way that object can sort of then, removed from the street, stand in as sort of the, I guess, the environment does in a sort of like psychogeographical sense. So then, I mean, at least what I hope within my work is that kind of idea of archiving or archaeologically recontextualizing something sort of becomes this, it sort of gives these objects like a hierarchical position that allows them to have an effect on people in the same way that the street or a location would otherwise.
I think what's interesting for you is that through the mass production of making and collecting these castings and creating them in itself an object to stand in its place, that they now kind of are coordinates to like a map of where you've been. Like we know exactly where they're situated within reality, and like it is, they are like just sort of fragments of that of reality. I think we haven't really talked about the material yet, which I think is quite important. That it is a conscious decision that we have all used concrete or resin, the tile, grout, and like fabric, that they are sort of the fundamental materials of the urbanscape. And the fact that these are abstractions but also reflect that, I think sort of adds to its importance within its space. Yeah.
I'm working on a project at the moment that's going to be at Guild Assembly Point in June, so it's in about a month, and that's with some mutual friends of Tia and mine, Jasper and Alexandra Ragg, and they're both interested in sort of similar sort of ideas and material outcomes as us. So I think that's going to be really fun. As I said before, like I'm sort of getting to a point where I feel quite comfortable working this way. So I want to try and get down to what it really is that makes me sort of interested in these things. For the moment, I'm still it's still the same thing, but I think it's getting to a point where I'm trying to see how I can push that sort of over the edge, so then it could become something perhaps larger scale, or not necessarily involving just replication and recontextualization, like perhaps something outside of that as well. So
the body of work that I'm currently making, I've decided to sort of push my handicraftness to the next level. I'm really interested in fabric and the origins of it. And I'm making a really fine weaving that will be the base of a painting, and that it will fit in with tiles that I've created. Will create myself. I haven't made it yet, actually. But I will still go along the lines of the grid formation, and actually this show really highlighted the importance of the hybrid, but also pushing it a little bit further, the point at which it becomes singular, becomes mono, which is quite hard when you're working with a lot of materials. So I think the grid formation, in terms of it being bound to its repetitive pattern, and that the grid in itself frames the work, and its relationship with the frame as well, which is quite interesting. So that's what I'm going to do next. It's going to take a lot of time, but I think time will be, it's very important in the labour as well. And upcoming projects, I'm going to have some work in with Caves Gallery at Spring in August at the Windsor Hotel, so really excited for that.